Hello and welcome. Thank you for watching. And please hit subscribe if you're not a subscriber. You can also follow me on Facebook on the Universal Life Church of Massachusetts. Today I want to discuss astrology. Now this topic is a little bit controversial because there's a lot of people out there that are very skeptical. And I find, and I used to be one myself, so I understand. But it's very difficult for me now because I see the effects of the sun and the moon and the stars and the planets on people so clearly now. It's hard to imagine that I never believed it. But we see people who live in Alaska during the winter months, they don't get much sunlight at all. And this affects a lot of them emotionally. They get depression, illnesses. And this is scientifically proven. So here we have scientific evidence proving that the sun not only can affect you emotionally through depression, but also provides you vitamin D and the things you need to live. Warmth, energy, heat. And then over here, we have scientists saying they don't affect us at all, emotionally. So they're contradicting themselves. Scientists are contradicting themselves because there's proof and evidence, but then over here they say they don't want to accept it. Because they don't want to accept the fact that people thousands and thousands of years ago studied astrology. It's the oldest science to date that there is. And early modern scientists don't want to admit that there were people back then that knew more about it than they do now. Because they can't figure it out and get their mind around how it works. So they'd rather just prove it wrong and false than try to understand it. So let's talk about it a little more, about astrology and how the planets affect us. We know the sun gives us heat and warmth and energy, and if it's not there, like the people in Alaska, we'll get depression. People get depression even in the winter months in North America because the sun isn't there. Now, the moon also has effects on people. And the times of year. The stock market tends to have great big falls in October around the same time every year. There's cycles that people can see, and the stock people that invest into the stock market, they know them well. So they're putting their money where the stars are, and it pays off. So there's something to be, there's something there. There's something about these seasons. Now, the moon and the sun and these planets have been there your whole life. They are part of you. This is what people don't understand. They think it's them and then everything else is separate. But it's not. The moon, the sun, the stars have been part of your life even before you were born, when your body was developing. The sun was giving your mother warmth. The moon was, your mother's menstrual cycles go in patterns with the moon. The moon pulls liquids and has a gravitational pull that is affected the oceans and the water in you. And we can't prove this to you by taking the moon away. And if we took the moon away, you'd feel different about 30 seconds before you died. I assume we would die if we took the moon away. We took the sun away, we would die. We would freeze to death. Pretty quickly, too. And the moon, I think we would all drown when the Earth stopped turning, and that balance of the moon being there wasn't there. Everything is where it is for a reason, and it's there for a purpose, and it belongs to you. It's not separate from you, it's part of you. And it affects you. Depending on when you were born, your astrological chart of the time you were born shows where the alignments of the planets were. And these have different effects. Like Albert Einstein's birth chart is amazing. It shows he's going to be a very wise and successful and do great things. And he did. We can see that. So we can look back and see the birth charts of people that have done amazing things and see if the birth chart said they were. But I want to make clear, a birth chart is not a destiny. It's not a blueprint for your life. It is kind of a blueprint for your emotions and your personality, but your free will, you can change that. Just like anybody who's built a house knows that as you go along, you make changes to your original plan, and it turns out being something different than when you started. And if you look at the astrology of what the emotions and traits of certain signs of the zodiac, I'm a Leo, you may be a Cancer or a Scorpio, and if you look up those traits of ones that know what they're talking about, I'll post a link in the description box of a good astrologer that understands and has studied this for many years. So you have someone to go by. But there are many good ones out there. And if you listen to how they describe certain people, you'll see what, if you are in tune with your own emotions, and if you're in tune with your emotions, you can see this better. Women tend to see emotions and feelings better in people than men do, because men have shut off their emotions. They've tried to. They were told they're not manly and you're not supposed to be human, so stop that. And they were told to stop using and paying attention to their emotions. Except for anger. Anger's good and violence is good, because that we can use for war. So those are propagated in men. I'm speaking generally because times are changing. There's a masculine and feminine in all of us. Not just men don't have masculine and women just have feminine. There is a masculine and feminine principles in all of us. And society has squashed the feminine principles out of man and tried to squash the masculine feminine principles out of women. And it's wrong. That's not who we are. But if we pay attention to our emotions on a daily basis and how we feel, we begin to see them in other people clearer. So when you hear of these traits of a Leo or a Scorpio and you start looking at these, you can see that they do. I have seen many times that they do reflect the people born on those days. Many years ago I was in a chat room and I was the moderator. And I noticed that we used to have a joke, oh, it must be a full moon because people are arguing and complaining. But then one day I started to see that today was a full moon. So I wanted to record it. So I recorded all the times I had to block people or close down comments on a post or reprimand somebody, give somebody a warning. Anytime there was agitation or confrontation, I kept track of it. And a friend of mine who was in another chat room, who was also a moderator, did the same. And after the first few months, it was very clear. We could see that the week of the full moon, the 2 days leading up to it, the full moon, and the 2 days leading after it, the arguments were much, much more. We did this for 11 months. And it was amazing. You couldn't even compare because the week of the full moon was the most aggressive, most people were irritable, arguments. And 2 weeks later, after the full moon, or before, there was a calmness. And this reflected in both chat rooms. And we weren't the only two that have done this experiment. Many people have tried this. I've talked to and watched a video of other people that have kept records like this. And they could see that irritability and frustration built around the full moon, that week of the full moon. So that's when I started looking a little bit closer, and I learned I'm not a master astrologer or anything. But I know enough about it, and I know enough about human emotions to see where they're accurate and where they're not. And, you know, if the moon has the power to pull the oceans, it has the power to move you emotionally. Jupiter is moving into Sagittarius right now. It just did over the past week. And this is a time of year that when it's in here, and Mars is in Pisces right now, and it's an important time to reflect and to look at things again that you might have looked at in the past, but now you can look at it with a new perspective. Because from now until Christmas, our consciousness is going to be a little bit higher, a little bit more aware. You'll be able to think a little more clearly. And it is a good time to seek truth, to find out what is the truth out there. And things like astrology is one of the things. What's true about it? Is there really emotions at play here that affect us through the moon and the stars and the energy that comes off of these? And I've just proven to you that in the winter months, people in Alaska can be in a depressive state because there's no sun. That's proof of it. That's an emotional change because of the star that's right there. And there's a lot of other evidence, but you don't have to believe me. What you have to do is get in touch with your emotions and be aware of how you feel all the time. How do you feel? Are you happy right now? Are you sad? Are you afraid? If you're in fear of something, why? Ask yourself why. Understand where your emotions are coming from and who you are. The more you understand yourself, the more you'll understand other people. And you can see these things. It gives you a better judge on human traits. And as that becomes clearer, you'll see there are trends if you pay attention, because I think like Manly P. Hall said, those who don't rule their stars will have the stars rule them. And what he meant by that is if you don't pay attention to the stars and the moon and the planets, you won't be able to counter-react the effects of these things. And therefore, they'll affect you even more than somebody who's aware of it. So those who are unaware, that don't believe that the moon and the sun and the stars have an effect on them, it affects them greatly. If you get angry and frustrated easy, you're not in control of your own emotions. You're not in control of yourself. And to do that, you need to take a closer look at yourself and the cycles of the year. and the planets and where the sun is and all these things that come into play. It's not necessarily the guy that cut you off in traffic that's making you so upset today, because there's been other days somebody cut you off in traffic and you didn't get that upset. But today you're getting really upset. And it just may be things that are going on in your life. It could be that it is the week of the full moon. Something to reconsider. But this right now is a time of year where we can reflect on those things. And I'm giving you this video right now because this is going to be the last video I make of the year. It's been about a year since I've been making videos, and I want to thank everybody for subscribing over the years and watching my videos. It's been a lot of fun. And this is a good time to go back and watch some of them again over the next month. Because you may see things and hear things that you see a little bit differently now. Things may be a little clearer. And, you don't believe everything I say. Don't believe anything anybody says. Listen and take what resonates with you. And if there are some things you can't put together in your mind, just leave them there for now until new information comes up. And then things may fit. And that's about all I want to say about that. That astrology is something you should look into. I've looked into it, and I believe there is an effect. Maybe not as much as some people say. I think these horoscopes that you see daily in the newspaper, a lot of them are baloney. But astrology is an old science that goes back for thousands and thousands of years, and they've studied human traits, and they put it together, and they've compared, and they've got a good blueprint about the personal traits that you have being born at a certain time of year. Whether that has to do because it's just hot because it's summer, or it's cold because it's winter, either way, it all has to do with the stars and the planets and the sun. People that have a birthday in between Christmas and New Year's kind of feel robbed, especially the ones that are on Christmas. They don't get a birthday. So they're affected by that. There's a lot of little details about when you're born within the cycle of our year that affect us socially and where the seasons are. And this is a good time right now because Sagittarius, Jupiter, which is a powerful planet, moves into Sagittarius, and this is a time of enlightenment, of raised consciousness, that you can see things again in a new light. Like maybe astrology, and maybe now you're seeing it in a new light. And this is going to be probably the last video I make for this year. I may come back around Christmas time and do another one because my schedule is really booked up and I may not have time for any. But I thank you all for watching over the past year, and we'll start some new ones in the beginning of the year. And I thank you all for all the viewers that have watched me over the past year. And the discussions and the friends that I've made have just been amazing. I've learned a lot from you, from your comments and the things that we discuss. So I thank you. And you have a great day. See you next time.